DA Gauteng leader John Moodey has resigned from the party. He says the official opposition has lost its way. Moodey served as provincial leader since 2012 after previously holding the post from 2007 to 2010. Back in February, he officially threw his hat in the ring for the national leadership race. Moodey's been a DA member for 22 years now.
I'm no longer at home. I no longer feel at home in the Democratic Alliance. The DA that I joined 2 years ago and the DA that I was part of up until this morning is definitely not the same. I have no respect for the present leadership, and quite frankly, I just find that the party is adrift and it is taking a direction, quite frankly, that I don't believe in. It seems as if the DA is going off-center to the right. And that is not what South Africa needs at this moment in time. And also those tweets that I spoke about, and you referred to, is not conducive to racial cohesion in South Africa. And we are all aware of the fact that we are facing trying times in South Africa moving forward. And racial tensions are on the rise. So as a political party and as leaders, we should be very cognizant of these threats. And what we should be doing is making South Africans feel that they do have a home in the Democratic Alliance, which is something we failed to do. I don't feel at home in the Democratic Alliance anymore, and therefore I cannot be associated with an organization that, quite frankly, is more concerned with self-preservation than with saving South Africa.
Now, Moodey says a purge is underway to remove anyone who supports diversity.
After Helen was elected as interim federal council chairman, we saw first Herman Mashaba, then a few days later Musi leaving the DA, and Athol Trollip resign as federal chairperson, all doing so before they were pushed out of the party or out of their positions. This tactic isn't foreign or unknown in the DA. Presently, the disciplinary process is being used to neutralize those who supported Musi and Athol. No less than 6 provincial leaders are facing multiple disciplinary charges. In total, 9 of the members of the 25-member federal executive are facing disciplinary charges. Personally, I have been a victim of such underhanded disparaging tactics at every provincial congress I contested, barring the first one. Trumped-up charges and character assassination and rumor-mongering to destroy my character has been a constant practice I've learned to weather and to live with.
Well, to make sense of the turbulence in the party, we're joined by political analyst Yan Yobe, who is also a journalist. Yan, good evening and thank you so much for your time.
Good evening, Kathy. Lovely to be with you.
You know, I'm listening to John Moodey speak, and one of the things that comes to mind is Patricia de Lille, just, a couple of months ago or years ago, when she was leaving the DA, or rather when Musi Maimane left the DA, and she said that the DA is on a path of self-destruction and that nobody should get in the way of what they're doing. They should allow the party to self-destruct. Is that how you would describe what is happening to the party right now?
Well, that's somewhat dramatic, but I would say that the party is losing more prominent people than it's gaining, and that's never a good position to be. It's also reflected in their election and by-election results. We haven't had by-elections for a while, but when we had up to March, they were not doing very well in them. So a party that's a happy party grows. A party that fights all the time shrinks. And what we are seeing is that the DA has lost many a good politician. You've mentioned Patricia de Lille. You've mentioned for instance, Herman Mashaba. You've mentioned, for instance, we can mention Lindiwe Mazibuko. There are many, Musi Maimane, Athol Trollip. That's a lot of people to lose without gaining prominent people. So what we are seeing in the DA is that it's a strong organization and it's got a very loyal support base. I don't think it's quite self-destructing, but the fact is that it is hurting itself through, I think, its internecine warfare all the time.
What is the impact of somebody like John Moodey leaving the organization after 22 years?
Well, he's the Gauteng leader. His hold on Gauteng has been slipping, to be fair. He was beaten to the leadership in the provincial legislature by former Tshwane Mayor Solim Simanga last year. That is a vote taken by the members of the DA caucus in Gauteng, and surprisingly to many, Moodey lost after leading the party for 16 years in Gauteng. He is still the provincial leader, but I understand he was to be challenged at the next provincial congress of the DA Gauteng. The other thing to remember about Mr. Moodey is that he was very much on the progressive or the left side of the DA, whereas the support of the sort of more conservative side of the Democratic Alliance, a side that calls themselves, to my mind, misleadingly classical liberals and are personified by Helen Zille, they are gaining the upper hand. It has always been an open secret that Mr. Moodey wasn't the greatest fan of Helen Zille, and that's another of her opponents in the DA gone. But whether the DA is growing in the process, that remains to be seen.
I want to stay with the issue of Helen Zille, because when you look at what John Moodey has said, a lot of it today has also centered around her role in the organization. We can pin it back to what Herman Mashaba said, what Mmusi Maimane has said. Does she have that much power in the Democratic Alliance, or is she a convenient scapegoat for those who perhaps don't have much of a future in the DA as they perhaps would have liked or would have thought they would enjoy?
Well, both could be correct. Many people who leave political parties will find reasons other than the fact that their popularity is plummeting or that there are disciplinary steps against him, as there has been against Mr. Moodey. But the point is that Helen Zille is by far the most powerful person in the Democratic Alliance. And the way to measure that is, if Helen Zille were to enter the leadership race against John Steenhuisen Mbali Ntuli today, I ask our viewership, who do you think will win? My money would be on Zille easily.
Do you think that is the case, despite some of the controversy that has been associated with Helen Zille and some of the views that she has expressed about contemporary South Africa and the way in which she reads our current climate in the country and the context that has led us here?
Well, one would have to see. Within the party, she certainly has support. I think they see her as a type of a meal ticket. The DA, for the first time in its history since 2000, fared worse in the 2019 election than it had in previous national and local and provincial elections. So the party got quite a fright. And Helen Zille, I think, is seen by some in the Democratic Alliance who are worried about their declining poll numbers as the meal ticket which worked for them the previous time, so it might stabilize them again. She was the leader before Mmusi Maimane when the party was growing, so her supporters think that she will grow the party again.
When Moodey talks about why he's leaving, he seems to indicate that there's been a shift of the DA in as far as its political identity and where it's heading, right? And I wonder how much of this, Yan, is linked to that result of the previous election that we had, and especially this perceived rise of the Freedom Front Plus and the gains and the losses between the DA and the FF Plus, and how it's informing what the DA is doing today.
Well, you know, one isn't always privy to all conversations between all politicians. But I see that Mr. Moodey is saying that at a recent point, Helen Zille told him that he would have to get used to the DA being a 20% party, which means, I think, a niche party looking after its supporters and their interests rather than a party that looks to govern specifically in the first place. Now, that, of course, is a change from the situation under Mmusi Maimane specifically, and it has been pointed out by Michael Beaumont in his book on Herman Mashaba that Mr. Beaumont, who had many, many years of experience as a DA organizer, said that the shift that had happened in the DA since last year's election was that it had changed from a party which wanted to govern to a party which did not want to govern. And I think his point is that Zille and her supporters are coming very close to to scratching out and basically killing any possibility of working with another large party such as the EFF to unseat the ANC where it goes below 50% in municipalities next year in the election. And many of the more progressive supporters of the Democratic Alliance think that is sheer stupidity, because that would leave DA supporters in such municipalities at the mercy of an ANC-EFF coalition or an ANC minority government.
Jan, what do you make of Moody's assertion that there is a purging of certain leaders that is taking place right now within the DA? And if I can draw you perhaps on who might be behind such a purge, is there an invisible hand at work here?
Well, I don't actually think that would be correct. I think he's over-dramatizing somewhat. Political parties are always places of contestation. And as I said, what is true is that he would have been challenged at next year's, or whenever they have their next Gauteng provincial congress, for the leadership of the party in the province, as he was challenged successfully for the leadership of the Gauteng caucus of the party in the legislature, leaving Nsimanga as the leader of the official opposition in Gauteng. So I don't know about the purging. Purging in the DA would be tough because it is a democratic organization. It's possibly the organization which has the most democratic elections of any major political party in South Africa. But that the feeling in Gauteng has been building against him, that people have been organizing against him, that is so. As he has on occasion when he has been challenged for the leadership of the Gauteng DA, for instance, most recently by Caleb Kagalia, before that by Ian Ollis. Moodey has always been a good organizer inside the political party to win these elections, and I don't know about the purge. Certainly some opposition to him was being fermented.